We're at the St. Augustine Episcopal Chapel at Vanderbilt, joined by composer, arranger, musician, Mr. Dave Ragland. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dave. If you could briefly, we want to hear about your musical journey, and I'd love to start with what brought you to Nashville, Tennessee, because I believe you're originally from Chattanooga, is that right?
Yes, I am from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and what brought me to Nashville was Tennessee State University. TSU has had a long tradition with my family. My dad was an alum of Tennessee State University, and we used to come up every year for homecoming, and I fell in love with the school then, and they offered me a scholarship to come, and I said, hey, why not?
That's awesome. So alumni at TSU, Tennessee State University. Last year you had a pretty busy year. Can you talk a bit about your recent collaborations as a composer and arranger with the Nashville Ballet and also the Nashville Opera?
Well, sure. So with the Nashville Ballet, I was tapped for two projects of theirs. The first one being for their project Emergence. Initially it was supposed to have been of course, stage production, but of course, due to health and safety precautions and everything, they moved it virtual. I was able to work with my good friend and fraternity brother, choreographer dancer Gerald Watson, on a piece of his entitled The Slow Fix. And so my vocal ensemble, Inversion vocal ensemble, as well as violinist Chandler Custer, created music for that work, The Slow Fix. And then I was able to work with them again for their concert series, for their performance series called Community. And again, I teamed up with Gerald Watson again, and we created a wonderful piece of art called The Talk. It's a piece of choreography in which he used a composition of mine titled 8 Tones for Elijah, which is dedicated to the life and memory of the tragically slain violinist in Aurora, Colorado, Elijah McClain. And so that was just really a profound work, I would say, and probably one of the most significant things I think that I've done to date. And also last year, I had the wonderful opportunity to create a commission, write a commission piece for Nashville Opera. It was the first ever commission for Nashville Opera entitled One Vote One. It was an opera created to commemorate the centennial of women's suffrage. And so the artistic director, John Humes, wanted to really focus on a lot of the unsung voices of suffrage, and also really emphasize to the importance of the right to vote. And so I teamed up with wonderful playwright and actress Mary McCallum, based here in Nashville, to create the opera One Vote One for Nashville Opera. And it has been very well received, critically acclaimed, and viewed by many, many thousands of students, not only in Tennessee or Nashville, but across the country.
That is wonderful. And Dave, while you were talking, I always personally look forward to hearing your work and witnessing your work, so it truly is a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Let's go ahead and go down the vein of you as a composer, continue down that vein. As a composer, I personally had the pleasure of hearing your work and even working with you. And I want to ask this question around our society and culture and our community. So how do you write music that speaks to our community and our current society? What does this process look like for you?
Well, I definitely tell my contemporary composers and young composers that it's really important to keep your ear to the street. That is definitely understanding and respecting, of course, the techniques and traditions of the musicians and composers that have come before us, but also understanding just the world around us and the world in which we live, and really understanding the voices that are speaking, and understanding that we too even have a voice in our own current society.
That's wonderful. And you mentioned this ensemble recently in one of your responses. I want to talk a bit about an ensemble that you founded. So Inversion Vocal Ensemble. And for those who are not familiar with Inversion, Inversion is comprised of trained vocalists, many of whom are alumni from universities throughout the Middle Tennessee area and beyond. And they've performed in venues all over the state, including the Ryman Auditorium, Cheekwood, and our very own Skirmahorn Symphony Center. And I believe you also recently received an Emmy nomination as well. So Dave, can you talk a bit about the conception and the work of Inversion Vocal Ensemble?
Well, sure. So Inversion Vocal Ensemble is an artistic collective of basically I say a group of friends who just so happen to sing. But everybody is a skilled, trained vocalist, and we're just a group of friends who actually came together by happenstance to fulfill an engagement that a couple of us in the group had already on the calendar earlier. And we've been very blessed to have a wonderful career, not just in Nashville, but beyond. We've been very blessed to work with the Museum of African American Music on several occasions, as well as the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. And we've been very fortunate to work, of course, with Oz Arts, Nashville Ballet, as I mentioned before. And we definitely love our relationship with the Nashville Symphony, dating all the way back until like 2015 when we were asked to perform on the main stage, Laura Turner Concert Hall, for the Free Day of Music. And we've just been associated ever since, especially with that and with Nick Cave, and also being featured artist for Let Freedom Sing in 2019. So it's been a bit of a second home for me.
Love it, yes. And so much of your responses have had to do with our community and some of the questions I've asked you as well. So this is another question around our community. You do so much work within the Nashville community, with Inversion, and also as you, as a composer and as an arranger. Can you talk a bit about community and why would you say it's important to support our Nashville community through the arts?
Well, it's very important to support the Nashville community through the arts because our community is our future. It's both our future and our legacy. And so arts is a very incremental part in that, particularly in Nashville. When we just think about just the legacy of music in Nashville, with Jubilee Singers, with Music Row, with our historic universities, Fisk University, Tennessee State University, back then, of course, Tennessee A&I College. Music in Nashville has gone hand in hand, really right from the very beginning. And so really maintaining that legacy is very important.
It's awesome, it's wonderful. I'd like to hear from you, what is your motivation? What causes you to do the work that you do?
Well, it's really important for me to make sure I make an impact. And also, leaving a legacy and making sure that the generations that are coming up with me and behind me have pretty much everything that they need to succeed. That really kind of motivates me to create, to write, and to teach, and really just to do better.
That's awesome. And you also do a Facebook Live or social media conversation with those who may be following your footsteps. Can you speak a little bit about that and just reaching back and supporting those that may be following in the same footsteps as you?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. I would definitely say that this past year has taught so many of us to how to slow down, and really kind of the importance of slowing down and not necessarily always being in the kind of the hurry up and go and just the hustle and bustle of trying to be here, there, and everywhere and be everything for everybody, but really just taking time to just kind of reflect upon where you are and where you are can really enlighten someone else. And so I have been doing a lot more hosting over the past year, and I think really going into this year too as well, making sure that, again, that my contemporaries and that the people coming up behind me, that they have what they need to succeed. And we're blessed to have this, live in an age with all of this technology available to where you can literally dial up somebody at the drop of a button and get their advice or connect to people who might not otherwise could have made a connection in person.
Well, Dave, this conversation has truly showed me that you definitely, and not only have your ear turned to this community, but your heart is also turned to our Nashville community. So Dave, once again, I want to thank you so much for joining me in this conversation, and I really hope those that are tuned in and are listening have learned and heard a lot about your work right here in our Nashville community. And if you're interested in learning about more from Dave Ragland and see more of his work, please visit www.daveragland.com. And then to check out some of the work from Inversion Vocal Ensemble that we also mentioned in today's conversation, you can check out inversionsings.com. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you.